Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode. Angela Snyder of Rambling Through Everyday Life with Friend Angela. I said at the end of the previous podcast that was a big spiritual 40-minute conversation we had.
We went deep.
We did.
We went deep, and I have a few things to say. You ready for them?
Yeah.
First of all, we have over 50,000 downloads.
Angela, that number to me is very impressive. Now, I know that there are other people out there in the podcast world that go 50,000, that's it.
Well, here's what I want us to celebrate for a minute. We knew that this was something we wanted to do. We felt like God was using this and does use it to encourage our people. But I mean, I say all the time, I just show up and talk. You show up and do all these technical things, but you said yes and convinced me to do all this before you knew what any of these wires and boards and applause buttons and headphones. You have stepped into your yes and figured the thing out, and we are having so much fun. So thank you, Fran, for being crazy enough to say yes to a podcast.
I said this today on your post, on your Facebook post. When you say yes, that sure as heck does not mean you're going to have it figured out. I think most of the time, if not all the time, that might be going out on a limb, but I think a lot of the time, when you say yes to what the Lord is asking you to do, there is such fear because you don't know what you're doing or how to do it. So 50,000
plus,
absolutely, plus by now. Like that's just so kind of the Lord that people want to listen to this.
And I'm so thankful that you're my fun, very convincing friend, because y'all know I talk about it. I have this fear of failure that I have overcome because I'm scared to say yes to things unless I feel like I've got them all figured out and I can do it perfectly, and that's just dumb.
Well, I think that's why I let you do the outline is because I know there's some safety in there for you. I mean, we do need to step into the room and know kind of what we're talking about. I don't care that I haven't like sat in that outline. I glanced at it and that was fine enough for me. But I think that for you, it's good for you to put that together. It makes you, I don't want to say feel in control. That's not it. It's just safe.
If this was complete improv, I would probably not have agreed to do this.
Right.
So yes, I need just enough to feel like I have a semblance of control.
Yeah. No, listen, I'm all for it because I'm not making an outline.
Well, and your preparation is just walking with Jesus because I mean, you're good on these spiritual deep dives, and I just throw you crazy stuff and we talk about it in life. So we're good.
This is fun. Happy downloads to us. And thank you everybody for listening. It still shocks me that people want to listen to what we have to say.
And I will say this all the time. My favorite thing is when people reach out to us because we imagine you listening and being our friend, but when we actually have these messages and conversation from people that are out there listening, isn't that the greatest thing?
Listen, Susie said so today, told me that she just listened to this past week's episode. And I was like, oh, you're just being kind. You didn't really listen. And then she called out some things that we talked about. And I thought, okay, thank you. Thank you to all the people. Y'all are precious and we love you.
Well, I have a quick little farm update because, you know, I grew up in the city and I've become a farm girl, and we've had some weird, crazy, wacky things we've talked about on here.
Y'all are kind of like Green Acres. Isn't that part of the Green Acres theme song? I couldn't sing it right now if I had to, but I feel like that's part of the Green Acres theme song.
Goodbye, city life.
Yeah, that's you.
That's us. We are on Green Acres. So my husband loves birds. We call him Birdman. He has doves, he has swans, he has ducks, he has pigeons, he has all these birds. So he wanted some turkey babies that would follow him around like puppies. Think about that for a minute. He went and bought 6 turkeys, and he has accomplished, I need to post a video of this in our stories.
Do.
He has accomplished, when we go for our walks, we walk in the morning and at night, we're working on getting these, 10,000 steps a day, be healthy, whatever. So as we walk, if you turn around at any given moment, there are 6 turkey babies running at your heels like puppies. And they are so cute.
Do they walk in a line like ducks, or they just walk?
They waddle, and they look almost, my dad used to say they look like Jurassic Park. When a turkey runs and flies, it's the funniest, most awkward, best thing in the world. I need to just get us some video.
Yeah, because there are those of us, Angela, most of us, that have no idea what you're talking about. But when you send me those videos, does Carl I love it when you send me videos because it's so precious, because Carl is so precious. in that world. Could he pick them up like a puppy?
Oh, yeah, he does.
And like, oh, you're a precious turkey.
He makes them gobble. He does the bird noises that they need to trigger their gobbling. The men turkeys have started posturing and fluffing up their feathers and strutting around for the women, and they're just like little kids.
Somebody's got to teach them how to do it.
Well, here we are.
Carl's the dad.
He's the dad.
They don't have a dad on the farm, do they? You just bought them.
Yes, we bought them. And then we were walking about a week ago and we heard some ducks in the woods. And we realized somebody had dropped off. People do this from time to time, but they just leave bonus ducks for us as prizes that don't belong to us. Like they bought them as pets and decided they don't want them anymore. So we had to run these ducks down into the pond so they didn't get eaten in the woods. So you can imagine me running with my arms flailing, making scary noises, trying to get them in the water. And they're still alive, but we have to run them to the water because they're not used to being on a pond. They're used to being in someone's care in their home. So.
You are living your best farm life.
I really am.
It's like, let me just remind you people, she's an attorney, a venue owner, operator, runner, person.
And a farm wife.
It's so fun. Never a dull moment.
Never saw any of this coming in my wildest dreams. And I love it all so much. Okay, Fran, we don't always get to do this. We talk every day about our day, but it's honestly rare that we get to hang out and spend time together.
Right.
We made a point on Saturday to go see a movie that has been hyped up, talked about. There are so many opinions that we have both heard that honestly, I didn't think I wanted to see this movie. I'm so glad we did. Tell the listeners.
I don't want to start this, Angela.
Okay, I'll do it. We went to see the Barbie movie. We did. And I'm so glad that I did. I'll say this, that, I got just enough online, just enough to tell me or make me think or question, is this a movie that you want to see? Are you going to be one of those people? And I was like, I don't know, but I want to see it because I'm never afraid to step into a controversial subject and figure out with my own mind and my own experience what I think about it. I'm not afraid to do that. So, well, before we talk about the movie, what was your Barbie experience or memories as a child? Okay. Were you a Barbie person?
Okay. What do you think? Because we did not talk about this. I know your role in it.
I can go either way with you. I can see you with a Barbie dream house, or I can see you going, that's stupid. I cannot guess what your Barbie affiliation was, Fran. You're going to have to tell us.
My Barbie affiliation is very interesting. Here's the reality. I know that I had a Barbie or two in my childhood. Did I have all the things? No. Why? I'm not sure. But I did have a friend she was all about it. So anytime I was at her house, she had all the bells, the whistles, the house, the little car.
Do you remember the big head Barbie that was just like the mannequin head and you'd do makeup and hair?
Oh,
remember
yes.
That thing was scary.
I do. I hadn't thought about that. And I barely remember it, but I do remember that. I don't know. I don't know what it was. So I knew going into the movie that my investment, it was kind of small because I wasn't like, oh, these were my people growing up. But just as a female, just as a girl, I understood the relationship, the connection, whatever. I don't know. But I could tell with you had a different, because you would rattle off like your sisters, you would name them. Well, she had that one and she had that one. And I thought they were all in.
Well, I grew up the oldest of three girls growing up. And then we have a sister that came along later. But growing up when it was just the three of us, the Barbie controversy was very real in my house, in the sense of my two sisters would fight like nobody's business with their Barbies. Like that's how they declared war on each other.
Oh, really?
There's a character called Weird Barbie in this movie.
Yeah.
Weird Barbie got her beginning in our home. I'm convinced of it because my sisters would take Sharpies. They would Sharpie up each other's favorite Barbie. They would cut off all their hair. They would put glue in their hair. They would put lotion in their hair and put the Barbie in the freezer so it froze that way.
Right.
They would just demolish each other's Barbies. And we still laugh about it.
It was a way to get back at you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Girls can be so fun.
Yeah, it started with
hateful.
Barbie.
It all started with Barbie. And I do remember I got a little pink convertible one year for Christmas that Barbie rode around in and had a remote control. We got the McDonald's where you could actually place an order and get your little Big Mac. I remember some of that stuff really well. But I will tell you, going into this whole Barbie movie season, my daughter was excited about it, and I would watch the previews and think, this looks really stupid.
Right.
So I really did not plan on going to see it.
My expectations were low.
Yes, we had low expectations, both of us. And honestly, I had heard, there's male bashing, and I went into it thinking, I'm prepared to find the parts that are offensive so I can explain to my child why this is so terrible.
Right.
And that was not I liked it so much with her that I told you, I was like, Fran, we have to go watch this.
And keep in mind, Kaylee's how old?
She's 20.
Right.
Now, this is not for little children.
Right.
If you've got small children, I'd say anything, maybe anybody younger than high school?
Well, it's PG-13.
Yeah.
And 13, I don't know what grade that is anymore, but that's a tricky time there because there's some stuff that's said or whatever that you're like, ugh, I don't know if a 13-year-old, like if I was the parent, it would make me uncomfortable. I think if you're questioning, go see it with your daughter. And guys sure don't need to go see it.
I just don't think they would enjoy it.
No, they would think the whole thing was ridiculous probably.
But the casting was absolutely superb. Ryan Gosling was Ken, and I did not know the actress prior to this movie that played Barbie. She was so spot on.
I love her, and I'm a little obsessed with her now.
Margot
I don't know.
Robbie, I think is her name, and Will Ferrell. I had no idea he was in it.
Me neither.
He's hilarious.
Always is.
In anything that he does. But I really, like the critical things that I heard, I really, in hindsight, I'm thinking, did these people really go watch this movie?
Yeah. Well, and let me say this. I agree 100%. The whole time I'm watching the movie, I do, and I may be wrong, and it may just be the way that I watched and listened to it, but I felt like there were a lot of things, I don't know if storylines is the right way to say this. I felt like there was just a lot of things happening. Instead of stepping into a movie where you're following just the characters and the plot development and you're following along, even though you don't know what's going to happen next, you're following along. But I felt like there were just in a scene alone, there were multiple things happening and your brain is trying to process lots of things while also following this kind of central theme of what's going to happen to Barbie. And that alone, I was like, oh my God, they said this. So what do I do with that? Or they're fighting about this. And what do I do with that? And so it's kind of overwhelming in that sense as a female. So I could see why you would want to see it again because you're trying to just process all that other stuff.
And then they have a house where you get on a pink slide and go to the bottom floor.
I want that.
I want that house.
I want that house.
I might be on time if I could slide to the front door. So all that to say, I had heard, male bashing. We love our husbands. We love our sons. Like that. I didn't leave that movie feeling like I had done them a disservice by being there.
Right. No.
In any kind of way.
Right.
And some of the things that came out of it, I thought were really good themes, like how we all need each other.
That's right.
And how none of us need to be marginalized. The women have strengths and the men have strengths, and they all, when they're allowed to be who they were created to be,
right,
it works.
Right.
And when you're trying to put people in a box,
right,
literally, Barbie.
Yeah, Barbie in a box.
Barbie in a box. And then I mentioned Weird Barbie a few minutes ago, but I loved how, they just disregarded Weird Barbie, who did look weird. This woman's in the splits the whole time, just about. She was a weird Barbie, but they get to know her and she becomes a significant role, in the movie. And I thought that was good. And then Will Ferrell, what more can you say?
Yeah.
That man, he just could stand there and I would laugh.
Well, I still see Elf when I see Will Ferrell. I think I'm not going to name him because I don't want to do that, but somebody that we know and respect and trust was also in the movie with us, and he's a very wise person and wears a couple of hats that give him perspective that I don't have.
And he was there with his wife and his daughter.
That's right. He was. And so as soon as it was over, I hightailed it to him. And I was like, I need to know your thoughts on this right now because of just the person that you are, the work that you do. You were here with your wife and your daughter. You're a father to all girls. And so what did you think? And so we kind of talked through some things. But, I appreciated the fact that he said, men are supposed to be the biggest blessing to their family, to their work, to their community, to this world. And it's never meant to be this, I'm better than you. And I just appreciated that. I know that. And we had a little bit of a further dialogue about, the world is broken. It's not always like that. And I hate that. There needs to be more teaching for men and young boys about what does it look like to be a blessing to your family, to your home, to your community, to your work? Like literally, what does that look like? Because I think it gets so over to the other side of misuse of authority and power, and they can get so focused on that they miss being that blessing
and being somebody who really does champion women in the roles.
You're not scared of them or threatened by them.
No, my dad and my husband always pushed me to go further, celebrated, championed me as a leader, me as an attorney, me as whatever. They never tried to I don't know, make me sell myself short. Or they've always encouraged me to go beyond what I thought my limits were. Yeah. And I just really, I was aware of that watching that movie. I thought, and Ken had a shirt that said, Ken is Knuff.
Knuff. I said to you at that point, how many people for Halloween are going to dress up as Barbie and Ken and with that Ken with that sweatshirt on? Knuff. And at the beginning, they're all, hi, Barbie, because they're all the different Barbies. So they're all Barbie.
I think for Halloween, we just dress as whoever you want to be, and you're that Barbie.
You're that Barbie.
Hi, Barbie.
I don't know. I encourage you to see it and then just, again, critique it, analyze it, consider it, question it, embrace it through your own life, your own lens. And anyway.
It's good stuff.
It was. I liked it.
And I heard some commentary on it, and they were saying, for mamas, it's important. And this kind of transitions into something else that I want us to talk about. But there's that speech about what it's like to be a woman. Yeah. And oh my goodness, that clip is out there.
Yeah. Please go watch it. And I had seen that clip and had watched it multiple times. And I referenced it, I think, on our very first episode of this season, but neither one of us had watched it yet. But that's a moment where you could get emotional.
Really, really good. And when you think about the challenges and the expectations for women and for men in our society, men are raised to stuff their feelings and be macho men, and that makes community difficult. Right. Men need each other just like women do. And
do you have some quotes that she said?
I don't.
Okay, just kidding.
I wish I did. Listen,
because I'm trying really hard to remember one. But you get
that tension between I've got to do this, but not too much. Right. And do just enough of this without being mean.
I want to be nice, but if I'm too nice, then I'm considered whatever. Or if you're aggressive, you're a bully, or if you're driven, you're too aggressive. Or I don't know. It's hard being a female, but if you're coming from a healthy place, everybody can respect everybody.
Absolutely. And then finding something that fulfills you as a woman that's not, we talked about roles in the last episode that we recorded, but, you've got to know your identity and who you are. That's not just as a mother or as a wife, and knowing who you are. And I think this is that time of year when, we're transitioning, we're sending kids off to college, some of us, and if you have a college freshman, we sure are thinking about y'all, especially this week. We sent Kaylee back yesterday, and I was pitiful. And I asked Fran, I was like, this is supposed to be easier. I've done this 3 years. Why am I crying?
It's transition. And I do want us to spend a minute just talking about how hard it is to send that child. I don't care if it's your first, second, third, fourth. It is extremely hard to send that child to their freshman year of college. For those kiddos going off to college, it's very overwhelming as a parent. And I can only speak as a mother, because there's nothing more unnatural than for you to have, literally, you carry this kid. If you didn't adopt this child, you have known this child from conception. So you are the closest one, truly, to that child. And then to have invested in them, raised them, mothered them. And there's nothing like mothering. You're not fathering them, you're mothering them. And then to just release them, just to say, well, bye-bye.
It's awful.
It is awful. And it's okay. It's totally okay to have those moments of intense sadness and grief and longing for what you had, because it's all hitting you at one time of, I'm never going to have that again. Never. You're not going to have them living under your roof at that age, who they are as a person. You're not going to get it ever again. And so you realize that, and the regret, there's so many things. I mean, as much as we love our children, and our kids have really turned out somewhat successful. I don't even like saying it, but you know, we've definitely both had our hardships with our children, but you know, it's just, you have regrets. You wish you could go back in time and do things differently and invest more and say more, and you wish you had the wisdom now that you did then, but you don't. And, you know, I've said this story many, many times, is that these 4 years are so transformative, and they're going to be bumpy. Whether they tell you or not, you have to know there are things happening in their life that are extremely difficult for them, whether it's on the academic front, the social front, the decisions that they're making. We all know our kids have done things, are doing things that we do not know about, and it's shaping them and it's forming them. And so kind of coming to a place where you can reconcile all of that, because we're the parenting generation that has bubble wrapped our kids tremendously. You and I have talked about that so many times, and we thought it was of their benefit, but now we've sent them out on their own, and we're not real sure how the taking off the bubble wrap is truly affecting them. But you know, it's a really hard season. It's okay to wrestle out what they're doing or not doing. It's okay to sit on your back patio in the month of October and cry like they just left. It's just a roller coaster of emotions. But you know what? I said this to Dan Griffin, my beloved friend here on campus. He's launching his son into the college world this weekend, and it's his firstborn, and they are two peas in a pod. They are extremely close. And I said, Dan, you know what? He's going to be okay, because he's held in God's hand. God loves him. We know those things. We hear people say the Lord loves him or her more than you do. And you don't really begin to grasp that until they're out of your hands and they truly are resting in the hands of the Lord. And it's okay. It's just, it's hard. But anyway, blah, blah, blah. I've talked too much.
And I think it can also, you know, maybe I'm grabbing a hold of that truth, because now I'm just like, well, she's fine. I'm feeling sorry for me. You know,
Right.
I'm the one that's still, that's it. Because we settle into a routine really well, you know, when she's here, when she's gone. But then the transition is so hard. And yesterday I was a fragile hot mess. I woke up this morning and I was good. I was okay. And it just kind of hits in waves. And freshman year, you know, that initial shock is certainly the hardest. But I think you have to just be mindful of, this transition is coming. It is hard. I have to be kind to myself, because it really, you know, it's a real thing.
Well, and just be honest with others about what you're feeling and how you're processing all of this. Don't keep all that bottled up, whether you're talking to your spouse, because they're having a different journey. Your spouse has a very different journey than you have, and that's okay. But make sure that you're opening up and talking. I saw something funny, and I think this is worth passing along. These are two totally different thoughts. But number one, be prepared for, especially if you have a freshman, be prepared for how sick they're going to be that first year, it is a combination of 1,000 things happening at once, and they're going to be sick all the time. All the time. And that's okay. Just make sure that you're reminding them of all the things that they should do to take care of themselves.
Kaylee's joke was, stop telling me to take vitamins.
I know.
Literally, every time we talk to her, like, don't forget to take your vitamins.
No, but it's real. I need you to take those vitamins. I need you to drink water. Do you hear me? I don't drink water, but I need you to drink water. And then the other thing was that instead of asking your freshmen, how are you? Because that's kind of like in high school when you say, how was your day? Like, it's just a terrible question. It's fine if you're just like, that's all you've got to offer. But I think a really good question to ask your freshmen is, what do you need from me right now?
That's good.
How can I help you? Not to come in and rescue, but you're hoping that forces them to open up and either say, I don't need anything. And that's fine. If they say that, then you say, okay, well, I want you to know that I'm praying for you, and you can call or text me anytime, day or night. But instead of, how are you? How was your first day of classes? I mean, you're going to that's your default.
Yeah.
But write down, memorize, what do you need from me right now?
Well, I love to tell on myself, you know that. So I'm going to tell on myself and tell y'all what not to do. And I don't know why I did this. Let me preface it by saying I realized this was not a smart thing to say to my child. But the night before she left, when she was packing, I found myself telling her something. I was like, why did I tell her that? But I was telling her that earlier in the day, I was like, I had a really, sad moment. I'm really going to miss you. And then later on, she was like, Mom, don't tell me that. I hate, what was it? She said, I hate the leaving. She said, I hate leaving here when I'm there. I hate leaving there. The leaving, that transition is hard. And I'm just not processing that because I don't want to. And she said, the last thing I need is to think about you feeling sad as I'm leaving. That's because I'm trying to not be sad. And I thought, why am I dumping this heaviness onto my child? I
don't know why we do that. I do that too, still to this day.
I know. I don't know if I thought that she's so fine and happy. Maybe she just needed to feel like, hey, I recognize that you're leaving and you matter to me, and I miss you when you're gone. But anyway, don't do that. Don't tell your kids how sad you are when they're. There's got to be a way to acknowledge it just enough without.
Well, I'm going to miss you.
Yeah.
I'm going to miss you, and I love you, and I'll see you whenever it is the next time I'll see you. But close the door and then cry when they leave.
Yes.
You don't want them to feel guilty for leaving.
Right.
Because they're trying to establish their home, and they know they're in that in-between place of this home, Kaylee's home that she's grown up in. Yes, it'll always be her home as long as you live there, but it's not her home of like where she's being raised anymore.
Right.
And so she's trying to figure out what is home. So yeah. Cry all you want to, just don't make them. You didn't do that. But I mean, Tyler lived with us for 3 months while he was in between jobs, and he's 25. And I was like, do you really want to leave? Like, it's so stupid.
Don't leave your mother.
I know. Like, how unhealthy is that?
I'll say it one more time. College admissions or whatever department, I'll give you credit for this, Fran. I don't know who does it here. Having a parents' weekend a month after you drop your kids off is the smartest thing that was ever done on a college campus.
It is. It's proven by scientific study that so many days, I think it's, 40 days, however many days. It's not 2 months, but a little bit more than a month. That's exactly how much time needs to go by. And then that's why they're all happening at the same time.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm glad somebody did the study because I can tell you it works.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
We're ready.
Yeah.
We're ready.
We're already ready.
We're ready right now. Kaylee, I'm just going to keep telling off on her, but she's been there 24 hours and she sent a group text to myself and her father that said, I have a splinter in my foot. And Carl said, I'm on my way.
Oh, listen, Carl Snyder, no
she's
sir.
4 hours away. But it was so cute. It
Funny.
Was,
precious.
Anyway. Okay, so we've talked about a lot of things. I do want to mention one more thing because we went so deep spiritually on the last one. But you posed a really good question, and I can't remember exactly what you said, but it was something like, what is our weakness, or where do we need to grow spiritually? Yeah. And I had mentioned that I do struggle with more than just a few minutes of a devotion in the morning.
Well, I think every single one of us can raise our hand to that. It's just, how long does that season last?
Yes.
It's okay here and there, because good grief, we're human. But I'm so glad that you're bringing this up, and I want you to keep talking. But since you brought that back to me in a Voxer earlier, I was like, I don't want anybody to ever feel bad if that's all they can do. It's just that when that becomes like for weeks and weeks, which I will definitely raise my hand to that, then it's like, okay, what's going on? Why am I not? Why am I not spending more time with the Lord? What is that about?
Well, we've got to keep growing, and we've got to keep challenging ourselves, whatever that looks like. Like you said, whatever's appropriate for the season that you're in. And this summer, we talked about on the first podcast a few weeks ago, we started out being really exhausted. It took us a while to get rested and get back in that good headspace. And I guess we all do. I can speak for a lot of us. We do better in a routine. The new school year is good. So I love, and I know you do too, Christy Nockels' podcast, The Glorious in the Mundane. If you've not heard it, it is so phenomenal. This woman sits all by herself. There are two of us to banter back and forth. Christy is alone and just does the best monologue that is beautiful and it's engaging. And I always learn so much from her. So she did a short series, and I highly recommend it. It's called Summer in the Psalms. Have you heard any of them yet? Oh my goodness. There's maybe 4 or 5 of these episodes. So I listen when
Can it be fall in the Psalms?
It sure can. It's always summer. Let it be summer whenever you listen. But she had Jeremy Camp's wife, Adrienne Camp. I had never heard of her. I did not know Jeremy Camp's first wife died of cancer. They had not been married long. There's a movie that's been made about it. But Adrienne Camp has a new study out that is in the Psalms. So she came on Christy Nockels' podcast because Christy Nockels kept bringing up the phrase that's all throughout the Psalms, "as for me." And that is the name of Adrienne Camp's study on the Psalms, "as for me." And I loved hearing her talk about it. It really resonated. The Psalms are just such a sweet place to camp out because there's one for every emotion. There's a psalm for every single, if you're, in a spirit of praise or need wisdom or lament or thanksgiving, you name it, it's in there. So I had ordered this study, and as I heard myself say out loud to all of you, I need to do more in-depth Bible study, I thought, Angela, it is time. Let's get this book out. This is my back-to-school Bible study. I'm into the first week of this, and I love it. It's easy, it's gentle, it's beautifully put together. But one of the verses the first day was Ephesians 5:19. And it said to write this verse and then to ask the question or to answer the question, how does this verse suggest that we speak to one another? Now,
I'm scared already.
I'm just cheesy enough to still have some of the Barbie movie in the back of my mind. You know how they're doing all these musical, montages? So this verse, as I'm thinking about these musical things, this verse actually is about consistency in the Christian life. And it says we are to speak to one another in psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs, singing and making music with your heart to the Lord. And I thought, first of all, that's so beautiful. But second of all, I can't sing. I can't see me coming in this room and singing to you about the day that I had.
Please don't.
I would not.
Because I would start laughing.
Never would I ever.
I wouldn't receive that like I was supposed to.
That would not be that. Yeah, no, we're just not going to do that. But she says in this study after this part, it's how should we speak to one another? And this says with psalms and hymns and spiritual songs. And she said, she and Jeremy are musicians. As much as they have music flowing in their home, this is less about serenading one another and more about how these spiritual songs, whether sung or spoken, connect our hearts to one another as we pursue the Lord. It's about finding God in the midst of each of our circumstances and grabbing the hand of our friends to do the same.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Isn't that great?
Yes.
And that really, that is the heart behind why this is so important, why we need to love God to love others. It's just beautiful. So I thought, that really encouraged me. I hope it really encourages you all listening, but how beautiful to spend time in Scripture and then just to visualize we're all in this together, grabbing the hands of our friends to do the same.
Well, out of the overflow, you are able to love and serve well. And nobody genuinely wants to just do that on the surface. we live on the surface because it's easier and it doesn't require a whole lot of giving.
Yeah.
It's just a transactional thing. And so, I think we could all stand to grow in our love and our knowledge of the Lord. And that's going to look different for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And only you know what you need to do in your growth. And we just want to encourage you in that because we've got our own obstacles. I know for me, I'm just coming out of a season where, and I can't figure it out, like not everything, that's not true. There are some things that I'm like, I just don't want to. And I think there's a little bit of laziness involved, a little bit of complacency.
Do you think your mission trip, usually when you come back from a mission trip.
It's before that. Okay. It'd be before that. And I'm content to just, do the bare minimum. I think there's a lot of little bit of distraction. And some of this could be, this job change that I've had. And there's just, there's just different things that's going on in everybody's life. Everybody's life has stuff going on. But it's in the last few days in my prayer journal, I have asked the Lord specifically and we've talked about this a lot too, just to increase my want to, because I don't want to just go through the motions, even though sometimes that's necessary and that's all you can do. But I'm ready to let's do more. So I'm not doing a Bible study. We are doing Fellowship U. And that's so hard. It's different than opening up that workbook and doing that.
This felt like a hug. Mm-hmm. That workbook feels like
hard.
We're in seminary.
We are. It's so hard, y'all.
But we are theologians.
But we are theologians, and we can be students of God and His Word. But anyway, just figuring out, I think there's some of that. Like I've just missed that gentler Bible study community. And I think it's just a culmination of a lot of things going on that I want to do something different. I can't quite put my finger because I don't have the time.
Well, I will say this is one of the easiest as far as a time commitment. It's taken me less than 10 minutes in the morning, if that. And it's just easy and gentle. So if anybody relates to this, and there's a code in the back of the book to get the videos too. So, and they're short. Yeah. But it's just really, it's been sweet and tender and an easy place to land. So highly recommend. As for me,
I love that.
Adrienne Camp. Yes.
Okay. Well, Angela, thanks for the outline. We went from Barbie to Jesus.
That's right. What we do best.
Oh, y'all are truly the best. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Rambling Through Everyday Life with Fran and Angela. Y'all have a fantastic day. We'll see you next week.